Hey guys, Ham Solo here, Kilo 0, Foxtrot Yankee Romeo. I'm out here at the Plissner Radio Telescope again. This time we are working on this mast, which has a tri-bander on it right now, 20, 15, and 10. We are going to be adding a 6-meter Yagi to it. A loop-fed array, very similar to my 220 that I have at the house. And that's what we're going to be putting on this mast today, and see if we can get that to work with the remote station as well. And so when I remote in, be able to do 6 meters with that Yagi into all those computer programs and run 1500 watts through it. So let's see what happens. And then what I was talking on last night to a guy in Chicago was this vertical antenna here. And so this bottom section that runs up is 10 meters, then 15, then 20 up to those arms, and then 40 up to the next set of arms, and then 80 on the top. And so I was talking on the 40-meter vertical portion last night to the Chicago on about 600 watts remote from the hotel I was staying at 30 miles away. And he gave me 5.9, and he was 5.9 as well. And I was doing about 600. He said he was doing 1,000. And so the remote station is operating just fine. It's down in the bunker. And after we lower this pole and put on the 6-meter Yagi, probably show you the radios and stuff that are inside the bunker. So, all right, so the wire that terminates on this post goes up as an inverted V right here next to the tower, and then comes back down over to that part there where it's tied into the shack, and that is 80 meters. And then they have a 160 that's going from that pole way over here. Where is it? Right there. So that wire there, which goes up to this inverted V, and then way back down over here, that is 160. So in order to lower this this tower, luckily it does lower. There's a crank system with a pulley. We had to loosen all the guy wires that are holding on to the mast, as well as lower the 160 dipole, the 80 dipole. There was also a delta loop of some sort on it, and we have to loosen all those things up in order for that tower to crank down, and hopefully, you know, get it all the way down so that we can work on the end just slightly above the ground. And we're going to rest it on a pallet, as well as a metal sawhorse, trying to keep that tri-bander from actually resting on the ground. But we're going to end up taking that tri-bander off. We're going to change out the whole top end of that tower, where it needs a new rotator. We're going to end up having to jerry-rig a different type of mast pipe that's going to go in the end, so it gives us the elevation over the tri-bander to put the 6-meter Yagi on. And so there's going to be quite a bit of work that's going to happen with this system. And today is pretty much the only day to get the thing done. This place is quite far from most everybody. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and there's a zero noise floor, which would make it ideal for a remote station. But getting the guys together on a day that everybody can do it and come out and work on it, that's probably the real challenge. And so that little basically shack that's sitting there on the ground is actually the top end of part of the bunker. And so right beneath that, beneath where the guys are standing, is the actual bunker itself. And that bunker was used in order to monitor with that big satellite dish, basically like ballistic missile trajectories if they were to be coming from, illicit states or what have you. And that's originally what this site was for. And so it had a bunker complex that was underneath this. And that's where the remote station is located, and all this radio equipment is sitting on the top of it. The Deep Space Exploration Society, which I joined as a member, allows me to use that remote station in order to operate the radios and have the capability of doing 1,500 watts out from the site. And I've never really done over barefoot. I mean, most of my radios in my own QTH are only 100 watts, and so pretty interesting capability. And I didn't mind joining, having a membership fee and all that in order to use that type of equipment, and then it's pretty easy to follow on. And then as we, like I said, as we get this thing down on the ground, it's going to end up becoming a struggle trying to get all the pieces and parts to fit together, because until we get the mast down, you didn't know what was going to happen with the rest of the components. So as the last portions of the mast are lowered down, you're going to see one of the guys is going to walk over with a pallet, and he's going to be sticking that pallet underneath the tower as a support while we get it there closer to the ground. Can't obviously put it all the way down. You don't want to bend that tri-bander. That's a 20 meter, 15 meter, 10 meter tri-bander. And so resting it on the pallet gets it close enough so that we can at least remove those pieces. And we're going to end up doing a little bit of work on that too, turning the drain holes around. A little flock of geese came over, so I'm going to let you listen to those as they approach the radio telescope. So after about actually 5 or so hours of working on this, we're able to start raising it back up. And so the original plan was to insert a 20-foot long piece of aluminum tubing in the end of the mast and put a new Yaesu rotator in there so it can be controlled by a computer from the remote station. However, the mast was a certain size and the aluminum tube pipe didn't fit. And so kind of was looking around the site and found an old piece of steel pipe, galvanized, that was not in use. And we used a bandsaw to cut it down to roughly about, I'd say 13 or 14 feet. And that was going to be enough to fit inside the Yaesu rotator to fit on, and then us to put that 6 meter Yagi on the top of the antenna, and have the distance spacing between the tri-bander and that 6 meter Yagi. So once this thing gets back in place, we get it raised all the way up and have it settled, reattach all the guy wires, and then we'll start raising all of the other wire antenna elements back up. So we got to raise back up the delta loop, the 160 meter dipole, the 80 meter dipole, and get all those tied off. And then from there, it's mostly going to be a wiring and computer interface issue with how we're going to get that integrated into the system. And so they use an SDR in order to receive and listen and monitor. And then we use a ham radio deluxe in order to transmit out. And so there's a myriad of different programs that can remotely turn on power, that can remotely control the rotator, that can control the logging software, the ham radio transmit, the receive side with the SDR, and so forth. And so a lot of that had been pre-worked out, but adding a 6 meter to it, changes some things. And so I'm going to test the SWR on the antenna, and what we're going to find out is there's a bad relay in some of the system that's there, and that gets replaced. And then we're getting pretty much a 1-to-1 SWR on that 6 meter element. And so it's working perfectly fine. We're pumping enough power through it, upwards of 1,000 watts, 1,100 watts is still 1-to-1 SWR on 6 meters. All right, that took a lot of engineering to get things going. Swapping out the rotator and the pole to get that 6 meter element on the top. None of it fit the way it was planned, so we ended up using a whole different pole. So got the 160 line up, the 80 meter line up, the delta loop up, the tri-bander up, 20, 15, and 10, and then the 6 meter on the top, Yagi. And so right now all seems to be up. We got the rotator installed, new rotator, Yaesu, and the only thing lacking now I think is going to be power. And so there's the power line comes down for the rotator, and then we're going to have to splice into it and send that portion down to inside the bunker.
There. It was that jumper. All along. All right, now,
try it with power?
Sure. Where's the RF? Over here, we can use some RF, some watts. And oh, sorry. There. 1-to-1. Try it up there. Try some again here. Yeah, 500 watts. Let me just see how much power I'm putting into the amplifier. 22 watts. Going up here to about 40 watts. Let's try 40 watts. 40 watts, that says 76. Yeah, there's our kilowatt. Nothing happened. Great.
All right, so that was kind of the end of the testing and everything. It got pretty late. It gets dark out there, quite a bit dark and cold. And so drove back the 3 hours to get back to the old QTH, and was able to remote into the station. And so I'm looking at the remote in right here. And so got the apps working. Let me turn the camera on. So I was able to remote into the station. So I'm on the remote station right now. And right now 6 meters isn't open, 50 megahertz. It is almost midnight. And so just knowing that it is working and I am remoting in, and all went well with the installation. Again, having the capability to remote in is pretty awesome. You're not having to spend a tremendous amount of money on the radios and the setup and the big giant towers and the antennas. It's so it's a thing to be able to do that, and basically just for a membership fee. And so if you have the capability, I'd suggest trying it. If you can do that in order to get out and be heard. I talked to a couple of people already the one in California and then the one in Chicago. Just haven't had the chance in the last couple of days. Been working on that 220 build. And so more to follow with that. After putting up that 6-meter beam, it gave me some ideas on some things I need to do to correct that 220. So after the first 220 video, I changed from the mast to that gold post, and now I'm going to be doing another change, and we're going to see what happens from there. So appreciate you watching. This is Ham Solo K0FYR 73.